Good afternoon, Community of Lebanon members and guests. I would like to thank Buskin Davis Law Offices for sponsoring this event and the Community of Lebanon Association for hosting. Thank you for working with us during this time of recommended social distancing. As the mayor of Lebanon City, it is my privilege to share the state of the city with you. I will highlight my 10th year in office, share my goals and objectives for 2020, and summarize the past 10 years in office. These residents represented City Council in 2019. New to Council in 2020 are Amy Keller and Chris Miller. This slide depicts my senior staff. I want to personally thank you for your dedication to the city and to me. Our city's progress is the result of a collective effort on the part of our elected officials, city staff, community partners, business leaders, and so many volunteers. I want to thank all of you who played a role in our work in Lebanon over the past years. Thank you. Can you believe I have completed 10 years in office? Looking back to 2010, I remember what faced us. An $850,000 general fund deficit with no carryover and no capital reserve fund. 3 years behind in audits with numerous findings. Elimination of 17 full-time and 9 part-time positions with no plan on how to address the effect on city services and operations. Dozens of vehicles in public works and public safety which were way beyond their life expectancy. Utilization of liquid fuel monies to cover salaries in public works instead of using the money for street maintenance. Recognition that the city was not paying its bills on time. The loss of approximately $1 million a year in cost sharing and subsidization when the authorities split from the city. And we met the criteria to file for Act 47 financially distressed community. Since elected to office, I have met and worked with some of the most amazing people and organizations. We have restored fiscal stability in our city government, as well as accomplished some other positive improvements for our residents and our businesses. There are more advances to be made, and we will have our challenges. I'm asking for your continued belief in our vision and to stay committed to Lebanon City. With that being said, let's see how far we have progressed. My assessment of the state of the city is as follows. Regarding crime and the public safety, the Lebanon City Police Department is committed to providing a high level of service to the members of our community under the direction of Police Chief Todd Briner. Police departments measure their crime rates by the number of Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes consist of 2 categories. The first is crimes against persons, which include homicide, rape, robbery, and assault. In 2019, crimes against persons decreased by 12% to only 183 incidents. As a reminder, 2014, 15, 16, and 18 experienced some of the lowest counts since we started reporting crime against persons. The other Part 1 crime category is crimes against property, which include burglary, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. Although crimes against property did increase by 12% to 529 counts, it still represented the second lowest property count since we started tracking counts more than 20 years ago. 2018 was the lowest count at 472. 2018 represented the lowest overall count in Part 1 crimes since we formally started reporting crime numbers more than 20 years. 2019 was the second lowest count at 712, an increase of 33 incidents. The 2019 count represents a 5% increase and is mainly due to an increase in thefts. Looking back to when we first started to track, serious crime has decreased by 42%. Clearance rates are an indicator of how departments measure their ability to solve crime. The department exceeded the national average in all Part 1 crime statistical reporting groups. That is admirable. The perception of increased violence in street crimes involving gunfire is an issue for many urban areas. There was one homicide in 2019. A 17-year-old from New York escalated an argument inside a home into a gunfight and fatally shot his victim. The homicide was solved quickly with a superior patrol response and exceptional detective follow-up. The city experienced 3 violent crime incidents one could categorize as street crimes where persons were injured by gunfire or gunfire was involved in the commission of the crime. All 3 street crimes concluded with arrests made. There were 5 incidents classified as random gunfire incidents. These are incidents where evidence of gunfire can be documented, but police are unable to establish whether there was criminal intent, and there is no clear victim in the incident. All 5 cleared with arrest. We are vigilant in our duty to reduce violent crime. Recovery of firearms used in the commission of a crime is an important goal to prevent the use of firearms in multiple crimes. Firearms were recovered in several of the incidents mentioned. Part 2 crimes are forgery, embezzlement, vandalism, criminal mischief, sex offenses, DUI, drug abuse, disorderly conduct, and similar types of crimes. Looking back to almost 2 decades ago, criminal mischief and disorderly conduct have greatly decreased. However, drug abuse is higher. Overall, Part 2 crimes are up by 193 counts, or 23% at 1,025 counts in 2019. However, this is the second lowest number since we started tracking Part 2s. 2018 was the lowest. The use of heroin and fentanyl has dramatically increased nationwide. Fentanyl, a synthetic form of opioid that can be 50 to 100 times more potent than heroin, remains a major concern, with increased availability and misuse contributing to a significant overall increase in drug-related overdose deaths. The city noticed an increase in heroin ODs in 2015 in a relatively short period of time and partnered with the county to form a heroin task force called Stronger Together. In 2019, 28 individuals in the county overdosed on drugs, with 22 involving heroin and or fentanyl, compared to 27 ODs in 2018, with 23 involving heroin and or fentanyl. As you can see from the chart, more work needs to be done to tackle this nationwide trend. The task force held their second recovery day in 2019, with emphasis on the importance of recognizing that addiction can affect anyone. The city participated in 2 national prescription drug take-back days in April and October. This is a safe, convenient, and responsible way to dispose of unused or expired prescription drugs. The city, in partnership with the DA's office, accepted almost 200 pounds of expired and or unused prescription drugs during the 2 days. Believing we need to do more, the city would like to take the lead in our county on a program like one in Berks County called Blue Cares. After a member of law enforcement successfully administers Narcan to reverse the effect of an opioid-related overdose, an officer, preferably the same one who administered the Narcan, and a certified recovery specialist will make a joint home visit to the survivor within 48 to 72 hours. The purpose is to engage with the survivor and his or her family members to provide access to important resources, including family intervention and or a family support group, and to engage the overdose survivor into treatment. In 2019, 36 Narcan doses were administered by patrol officers. This represented an increase from 12 doses given in 2018. From safety talks, public appearances, offering officer-friendly advice on WQIC, attending National Night Out, reading at Police Read to Me at the market, and Walk with a Cop, we have made appearances at over 83 community events and logged nearly 140 community service hours in 2019. Some of the department's goals in 2020: we will encourage the establishment of neighborhood watch associations, increase foot patrols, upgrade computers in patrol vehicles, replace department-issued tasers and handguns, and we will establish a Safe City campaign. The perception that Lebanon is unsafe is inaccurate. Serious crime remains low. Statistics support that Lebanon City is safer than 10, even 20 years ago, and we can take pride in our outstanding clearance rates. Additionally, data supports that Lebanon City has 29% lower crime than the national average. Therefore, I'm announcing the start of a Safe City campaign to fight this misperception. Regarding the Public Works category, this department consists of engineering, highway, traffic control, parks, public property, and recycling, overseen by Director Robin Getz. Most time spent in the department continues to be on cutting grass and weeds. Street sweeping is the second highest amount of time spent, with sign repairs and sign replacement third. According to the National Weather Service, the average snowfall for Lebanon County is 21 inches. The city has exceeded the average snowfall 7 out of the last 15 years, with 52.5 inches representing the highest. Last 2018-19 season, we experienced more than 29 inches of snow, and almost 8 inches this season. The city receives almost $773,000 for the gas tax, and more than 50% goes to energize the street lights and traffic signals. Snow and ice removal typically average about 20%, which leaves less than 30% for street maintenance. Thus, maintaining city streets continues to be a challenge. The city has invested more than $3.8 million in resurfacing projects over the past decade. The resurfacing of 422 and 72 is planned for 2021-24. This project is valued at about $25 million and will represent a significant enhancement. The city continued to partner with 5 other adjacent municipalities and secured our stormwater discharge permit renewal in 2019. This permit was debated for approximately 18 months over the measurable area of the permit. The city and its partners, as well as most other local municipalities, contended that roads and areas upstream of roads that do not have curb or gutter systems were not part of the controllable areas to be included in the calculation. However, DEP is requiring all of us to remap our control areas to include these areas, thus most likely doubling the annual financial obligation beginning in the next permit cycle. In 2018, China, the main purchaser of America's recyclables, stopped accepting America's single-stream recycling, mainly due to contamination of unacceptable types of recyclables in its single stream. In 2018, the city decreased the types of recyclables accepted at the recycling center due to this change. For the most part, 2019 was consistent with 2018 numbers. However, these numbers were about 12 tons lower than before the changes. Since this change went into effect, we have noticed about a 9% decrease in the percentage of our waste stream that is being diverted to recyclables. The city is required to increase the height of the dam breast. Prior to draining the lake for the improvements, we will dredge 3 areas in 2020. Zoning permits increased by 34% from 2018. However, building code permits decreased by 4%. More permits were issued in 2019 for larger projects than in 2018. The estimated total value of construction for the year was almost $21 million compared to $7 million in 2018. In 2019, we completed a final draft of an update to the zoning ordinance and official zoning map. The Planning Commission made a recommendation for approval in January of this year, and a public hearing will be held by City Council. Also in 2020, the Director will develop a more efficient asset management system for all city-owned infrastructure. We'll implement new sewer lateral procedures to ensure repairs replacement projects are being completed according to code, and we'll explore funding to update the land development and subdivision ordinance. This area falls under the responsibility of Fire Commissioner Dwayne Troutman. The commissioner asked me last year if he could take some work home, and I said yes. I didn't realize he meant it literally. There were 21 career and about 40 volunteer firefighters who responded to almost 1,300 calls for service in 2019, a slight decrease from 2018. Accounting for 32% of calls, responses for false alarms decreased by 42 to 375. Response to false alarms and hazardous conditions are the top 2 types of responses. Exhibiting one of the lowest annual totals for fires at a count of 90 or 8% of the calls for service, this represents 18 less than 2018. There were 34 structural fires compared to 44 in 2018. Losses due to a structure fire totaled less than $900,000 compared to losses of $2.6 million in 2018. The fire losses for 2019 were the lowest since 2004. We celebrated the low fire loss. However, cooking remained a primary cause for structural fires, with many caught before they grew into free-burning incidents. Unfortunately, on many emergency responses, we noticed that there were no operating smoke and/or carbon monoxide detectors in place. Medical aircraft landings increased from 32 to 61 in 2018, nearly double from a year ago. The fire department is the only agency involved with this activity that is not in the funding stream for payment. This standby activity now accounts for over 5% of responses. Responses outside the city for automatic aid and mutual aid totaled 109 compared to 147 in 2018, a decrease of nearly 26%, primarily due to a change in response criteria to North Lebanon Township. It represented more than 8% of total call volume. Automatic aid was summoned 3 times, this being the Never Sink Fire Company responding for rapid intervention team services at structural fires. The city made 23 requests for mutual aid compared to 40 in 2018. In 2019, the deputy fire chief's vehicle was replaced in the fleet. During 2017, the fire department began a sustained effort towards the goal of regular fire inspections on commercial properties. 493 inspections were conducted in 2019 compared to 443 in 2018. Educational institutions, personal care homes, and hotels are just some uses subject to supervised fire drills or emergency evacuation drills. 55 drills were conducted by the department in 2019. Many more are needed. The city was awarded a $164,000 grant for the replacement and elimination of all city radio equipment. The city's share was $16,000. Previously, the city had to utilize 2 separate radio systems, one for city crews and one to communicate with county dispatch and county companies. This was dangerous in that the commander had to communicate on 2 radio systems with distractions of the fairground, ambient noise, apparatus sounds, and other concerns. Radio transmissions can easily be missed, including an emergency call of a firefighter in distress. Currently, the mobile radio installations are ongoing. Turning to 2020, the city will continue the evaluation and planning of fire apparatus, age, condition, needs assessment, and replacement cost. We'll continue to inventory and roster the Knox boxes used by the department. This inventory is superlative and unlike any other that we're aware of. Over the past 10 years, the city, in partnership with its volunteer fire companies and relief association, replaced 1 ladder truck, 4 engines, 3 chief vehicles, a utility vehicle, and added a foam trailer, a fan trailer, and a fire police vehicle to its roster. Fire safety has improved, and we are on track to improve our ISO rating, which will lower insurance rates in the city. Local municipalities in the county that were served primarily by First Aid and Safety Patrol met in 2018 and 19 to discuss the ambulance providers' dire financial situation. The northern tier municipalities in Anvil Township decided to utilize another ambulance provider and switch to Lifeline Ambulance. After several meetings, the 8 remaining locals agreed to a 3-year financial commitment for capital purchases. In year 1, the plan establishes funding at $4 per capita, with the city paying about $102,000. Turning to code enforcement, this division of the Public Safety Department is under the leadership of Glenn Llanos. Looking at food safety, the number of food safety inspections increased, as well as the frequency of inspections for establishments with non-compliant inspections. Facilities on the increased frequency showed significant improvements in food safety practices and compliance. Turning to property maintenance in 2019, the city contracted with a certified code consultant and retrained all of the inspectors to improve enforcement consistencies between the inspectors. We also created an SOP and improved the rental inspection process for greater effectiveness. Additionally, towards the latter part of the year, the city placed an emphasis on structural deficiencies rather than simply addressing nuisance complaints. In order to accomplish these improvements, the city promoted Mr. Llanos to a new full-time supervisory position so that he could oversee code enforcement operations in the department. Regarding property maintenance complaints, with almost 3,300 new cases, 2019 was very comparable to the number of new cases in 2018. During my administration, the total number of new cases opened has increased by more than 172%. The trash category continued to represent the highest number of violations, with a count over 1,100, or about 34% of all new cases. High grass and weeds were the second largest type of violation, with more than 600, or about 19% of all new cases. Together, these 1,700 incidents represented 53% of all new cases. 10 years ago, there were about 500 cases of trash, high weeds, and grass, representing only 26% of all new cases. There are more than 6,000 rental units in the city, accounting for about 60% of all housing units. Statistics show that renter-occupied housing units generate more property maintenance complaints than owner-occupied. The department spends a significant amount of time correcting repeat nuisance issues that represent short-term problems. These issues detract from the time that should be spent on major health, safety, and structural issues. We should be focusing more on these types of issues because when buildings become dilapidated, an entire neighborhood is brought down. When buildings are repaired and maintained, the improvement lasts a long time and it has a positive effect on property values. The city is continually spending resources on correcting short-term problems. Property owners and property managers need to be held responsible for managing their properties and implement real solutions to prevent the grass from getting overgrown and the trash from not being collected. Buildings that are unsafe or unhealthy for persons to live or work in because of building code violations, dilapidation, deterioration are considered blighted. These properties usually have been abandoned by the property owner and bring down property values and hurt our neighborhoods. In 2019, the city completed an evaluation of what we would like to see in an inventory of blighted properties. In order to compile this data, the city contracted with a company to perform an assessment on the condition of properties within the city. This assessment will be phased and will be conducted ward by ward starting in 2020. Only an exterior inspection will be performed for this assessment. In addition to this exterior inspection, the Community and Economic Development Administrator will review records for utility shutoffs, delinquent taxes, condemnations, liens, and reoccurring violations, which are a typical indicator of blight. All properties will be rated excellent, good, or poor. The city will utilize grant monies for the first phase of this assessment. During my administration, we have added one full-time supervisor and one part-time code inspector to the roster with a new focus. We are serious about improving our housing stock and our neighborhoods. Turning to administration, oversight of human resources, payroll, recreation, community and economic development, and other administrative duties fall under the direction of Melissa Canones. 5 park rangers assisted with patrolling Stavers Dam Park in 2019 and issued 133 camping permits compared to 114 in 2018. A total of 281 campers utilized the park last year. A total of 91 permits were issued to various groups for the use of streets, sidewalks, and parks, compared to 92 permits in 2018. The pool was temporarily closed in 2018 and 19, so the city could explore options and decide whether or not a significant financial investment of a minimum of $700,000 should be invested into the refurbishing of an 87-year-old pool, or if the city should permanently close the pool and offer another form of recreation. While closed, the city noticed that large pieces of concrete were disintegrating and detaching from the rebar, which forms the pool's body. With that additional information, council decided in September to permanently close the pool and demolish the structure. The city continued their partnership with the YMCA for a summer playground program at Progressive Playground. In addition, we held the annual nature camp at Stavers and sponsored Jack Hubley's Critters Beyond Your Backyard. Administration continued to update city policies and job descriptions in 2019. Goals for 2020 include updating the Employee Safety Manual and completing the updates to the Personnel Policy Manual. Turning to Community and Economic Development, this division of the Administration Department falls under the leadership of Janelle Mendoff, the city's Community and Economic Development Administrator. Janelle oversees our grant monies, community and economic development projects, and additionally, Betsy Bowman and Dan Lyons from the Redevelopment Authority are a part of our team and provide administrative assistance for a few of our community and economic development programs. Regarding community development, the city received about $649,000 in community development block grant monies in 2019. We utilized the funding for administration of the program, crime prevention in the Northwest and Central Business District quadrants, water main and street improvements, emergency rehab assistance, funded property maintenance inspectors in the low to moderate income areas, and provided funding for spot blight acquisition and demolition. Turning to playgrounds and healthy initiatives. In 2019, the city completed Phase 2 of the new playground at Southwest. We added additional equipment for younger children, picnic tables, park benches, as well as additional handicap parking spaces closer to the building and playground. For the past 2 years, the rail trail progressed with engineering and design on Phase 1 of a memorial park to honor John E. Wengert. This project represents a partnership between the Lebanon Valley Conservancy, Lebanon Valley Rail Trail, the county, and the city. The park, which will contain Phase 6 of the Lebanon Valley Rail Trail, will be located across the street from Lebanon Catholic. Site layout and easements will be finalized between all parties, and a grant application to DCNR submitted in 2020. We continued to partner on healthy initiatives for our community with programs like A City in Motion, Walk with a Cop, Walk with the Mayor, Healthy Recipe Award with Chef Spencer, blood pressure screenings, and BMI checks on Wellness Wednesdays with WellSpan. And the YMCA's Cops for a Cure 5K race. They are just a few. The Walk Works program is a new collaboration with the Community Health Council. This program was made possible with a grant from the Department of Health and the University of Pittsburgh Graduate School of Public Health. The grant paid for signage and the printing of maps depicting historic buildings and beautiful architecture on the self-guided walk through the downtown. In 2019, the first year of the Racial and Ethnic Approaches to Community Health, or REACH, grant monies were made available. The city contracted with Wilson Consulting Group to design a connector trail from Coleman Memorial Park to the Union Canal Park. Partnered with Lebanon Valley Conservancy to continue design for the Lebanon Trail Park, which is a proposed green infrastructure project in the downtown. Utilized grant monies to fund a part-time Healthy Initiatives coordinator, and the city partnered with the Lebanon School District, United Way, and ZenCat Creatives to commence installation of a second Born Learning Trail at the new Northwest Elementary School. Additionally, the city commenced discussions with the Susquehanna Area Mountain Bike Association, or SAMBA, to construct a pump track for young riders in Coleman Memorial Park. The track will consist of a small looping trail system where young riders can ride continuously without pedaling. The goal is to teach young riders how to ride a bike and to bring new visitors into the park system. The city has made improvements to the parks and playgrounds each year of my administration, and we have encouraged participation in healthier and active lifestyle options for our residents. Like culture and art, recreation plays an important role in a community. Benefits include improving the health and well-being of individuals, contributing to the empowerment of individuals, and promoting the development of an inclusive community. The city established a complete count committee in 2019 to support the 2020 census at a local level by educating city residents about the 10-year census and the importance of participating in the count. Funding from the federal and state levels for infrastructure, block grant monies, and many other grants is based on a local municipality's population, so I cannot stress enough the importance of completing the census information. It can be completed online. It is completely confidential. Additional outreach and educational efforts will be continued through May. The official census day is April 1st. Everyone counts in Lebanon City. Turning to economic development. The city is following its strategic plan to foster economic development, and some highlights of 2019 are: the Land Bank received a $175,000 fair grant that made possible the acquisition of 2 blighted properties from the judicial tax sale list. The properties currently are being evaluated to determine what repairs will be needed. Monies for the renovations will be funded through the fair grant as well. We continued our support of Amy Kopecker, Downtown Manager, and Downtown Lebanon's activities and events implemented to promote downtown businesses and increase foot traffic in the area. Some of the activities and events included the Extravaganza brought more than 500 visitors into the downtown. These guests stopped in more than 25 different participating businesses. Some visitors shared that they didn't know some of the businesses existed prior to the event. Prom Week highlighted beauty and body-related businesses. Makers Fest celebrated local vendors who make products like Wertz's Caramel Corn, Shuey's Pretzels, Van Winkle Opera Fudge, Lebanon Bologna, wooden toys, bead glass jewelry, handmade American Girl doll clothes, and handcrafted soaps. Burger Week spurred competition among the eating establishments, with some businesses again reporting their highest week of sales ever. The Bike Fix-It station brought a group of cyclists from the rail trail to the downtown. A pop-up market highlighted local artists on First Fridays. The Multicultural Festival celebrated our diversity through food, music, and dancing. Mental Health Week showcased our counseling providers. Ghost tours at the market combined our unique history with our guide's scary visions. Cookie Crawl brought hundreds of couples and families into the downtown businesses and made them a few pounds heavier. Holiday Passport and the New Year's Eve Bologna Drop with the new disco ball manufactured by E&E Metal Fab completed the year. Wow. We are so fortunate to have such a great team. Amy, the BID Main Street manager, Janelle from the city, all of our Main Street, CLA, and Lebanon Foundation volunteers. I want to thank all of you for your efforts to revitalize downtown Lebanon. These promotional activities and improvements were made possible by assessments paid by downtown stakeholders. For 3 years, the assessments helped pay for the events and promotional activities I just mentioned, which overall brought thousands of visitors into the downtown. The assessments paid for maintenance of the security cameras that helped identify and prosecute perpetrators of crime. The bid assessments paid for mulch around tree wells, and in 2019 alone, paid for the cleaning of sidewalks and the disposal of more than 12,000 pounds of trash from the front of businesses and homes in the downtown. Excitedly, downtown Lebanon hosted 11 ribbon cuttings and welcomed 19 new or expanded businesses in 2019. This represents an increase from 2018. Because there is a full-time manager in place, the Lebanon Foundation received 4 grants totaling $60,000 in 2019. In 2020, this funding will go towards facade improvements, the ambassador program, promotion and events, vacant storefront marketing, and business investor recruitment. It is important to reestablish the bid. The bid is a funding mechanism to cover the operational costs necessary for all of the items mentioned. Revitalization of the downtown represents only a couple of the 26 action steps outlined in the city's Grow Lebanon 2020 plan. Each action item has a team leader assigned to ensure timely implementation of the plan. The Entrepreneurial Center launched last spring under the leadership of Karen Grow. The 3 primary partners include the Chamber, SCORE, and the city. The goal of the center is to provide services to support the entrepreneurial community. And the center is excited to host Lebanon County's first ever entrepreneurial pitch competition on May 20th. Entrepreneurs will have the chance to win money to kickstart their dream business. Investment in the city continues. In 2019, more than $23 million were invested into private projects. Economic development projects that started in 2018 and continued throughout 2019 included the Veterinary Medical Center completed construction on their new expanded facility on Orange Street. Plans to restore a prior brewery to its former glory started in 2018 and continued through 2019 at 7th and Miller Streets. The brewery has been out of operation since 1959. The new owners acquired their 20-barrel brew system from a brewery in Atlanta. They plan to start producing craft beer this summer and open the brew pub in late fall. Other major projects which started in 2019 included renovations to Roland Funeral Home, major renovations to the Cocoa Mulch Building for a medical marijuana grow facility, accessory fueling station to Wise Market, renovations to the Heimlich Kaplan Pavilion building for a new community health and wellness center began in 2019. Family First Health will provide access to primary medical care, behavioral health, and other essential health services at the Wellspan-Dixon Foundation Health Center. Lebanon Tool Company and Regal House Foundry are holdings of PRL in Cornwall. They provide high-spec components in the defense industry. Regal Cast provides upgraded, finished machine castings so they do not need to rely on outside vendors. Last year, Regal Cast received variances to construct an additional warehouse. Community Homes started construction of 2 tiny homes with wheelchair accessibility on Maple Street. Another action step in the Grow Lebanon plan is to relocate city operations to the downtown and to construct a downtown parking garage. Moving City Hall downtown will increase foot traffic, police presence, and improve vibrancy in the downtown. The city was awarded a $2 million grant to assist with this project. Phase 1 of the project proposes to renovate the HAC facility and construct a 10-bay police garage for City Hall. HAC would coexist in the building. Currently, we are negotiating the sale of our portion of the county city building. Phase 2 would involve a partnership between the city and Lebanon Transit. We are exploring adding a multimodal transfer facility to the parking garage concept. The city will submit another grant application for additional RCAP funding, and we will apply for federal multimodal monies in 2020. Economic development will continue to be a priority in 2020. That summarized the department's progress and goals, but how are we progressing financially? The finance officer, Helen Westphal, and I oversee all financial matters. Remember where we were in 2010? During my tenure, we restored fiscal sustainability by accomplishing the following actions. We addressed the ongoing general fund deficits and improved the fund balance to assist with financial flexibility. We established a capital reserve fund with a 2019 year-end balance of $1.4 million. We got caught up with the past due audits, addressed the findings, and have had clean audits since. We restored a few positions to help address city services. We replaced 13 public works vehicles, including dump trucks, plows, and street sweepers. Replaced 12 fire apparatus, including a ladder truck and fire engines, and we turned over 15 police vehicles, majority of those to patrol. So that city employees have safe and more efficient vehicles to operate and provide city services. We stopped utilizing the liquid fuel fund to supplement the cost of salaries in public works and put that money into street and stormwater maintenance. We paid our bills on time and pay our bills on time. In order to recover financially from the split from the authority, we negotiated a 1-year wage freeze, eliminated administrative positions in the police department so we could keep more officers on the street, transferred police dispatching to the county, replaced some full-time with part-time employees, decreased non-personnel spending, increased fees, and as a last resort, we raised taxes. Turning to other financial items. Almost 80% of 2020 projected expenditures are for employees' salaries and benefits. This represents the lowest percentage of total budgeted expenditures for salaries and benefits since I took office, which means there is more money available for projects and operations. Responsibly managing workforce costs is critical to maintaining fiscal health. Starting in 2018, local governments were required to report its post-employment benefits liability, other than pensions, on its 2018 financial statements. As of the last filed audit, this long-term liability was $44.8 million. This is one reason why it is vital to continue to negotiate for reduced post-employment benefits in employment contracts. The pension plans together continue to have a zero distress level, meaning together they are 90% or more funded, and at the end of 2019, our long-term debt was about $95,000, which is extremely low. Although property tax and local services tax revenue remains stagnant, earned income tax and real estate transfer tax income continues to increase. Investment in the local economy continues to trend upward. Over the last 10 years, my administration has received more than $64 million in grants to improve police, fire and public works operations, enhance parks, make environmental improvements, and foster economic development. Not including any city projects, about $143 million has been invested into construction and improvement projects in the city, and that outlay continues. Improvements to police and fire services, the enhancements of parks, and increased economic development are all fundamental to Lebanon's quality of life. Overall, the fiscal health of city government continues to improve. Has this investment and other factors improved Lebanon's economy? Our unemployment rate rose from 5.5 in December of 2018 to 6.0 in December of 2019. This is low to normal for a city. When I first took office in 2010, the rate was 11.7. Lebanon County has a distinction of being the second fastest growing county in the state. Growth like Lebanon's is not common across the Commonwealth. As the county seat, the city is growing with the county. More residents are obtaining their high school degree. The number of residents obtaining an associate's or bachelor's degree has been consistent. For the third year, the median household income increased by 5%, and the percentage of individuals living below the poverty level decreased from a high of almost 30% in 2013 to less than 25%. Inflation has a major effect on the economy. The Federal Reserve tries to keep inflation to be about 2%. The Consumer Price Index, which is an indicator of inflation, increased by 2.3%. And although real estate prices in the city dropped over the years, we have noticed an increase over the last 2 years. House prices in Lebanon are some of the most affordable in Pennsylvania. Our appreciation rate notably has been below the national average for the last 10 years. However, in the last 12 months, our appreciation rates are so strong that despite a nationwide downturn in the housing market, Lebanon real estate has continued to appreciate in value faster than most communities. Our rate continues to be some of the highest in America at 8%, which is higher than 95% of the cities and towns in the nation. Based on the last 12 months, short-term real estate investors have found good fortune in Lebanon. According to the chamberofcommerce.org, a go-to digital resource, Lebanon MSA is ranked 145th in the United States for 2019 Best Small Cities for Business, meaning the best cities to do business or start a business in. And Lend.edu evaluated U.S. Census Bureau data and ranked Lebanon MSA as 3rd in the state and 84th in the country for most net business openings. These are all positive indicators of our growing and improving economy and business climate. I have shared with you that positive changes and growth are occurring in our city. We have more work to do, but progress continues to be made in vital areas. Therefore, I am pleased to report that in comparing 2018 to 2019, the state of the city continues to improve. Looking back 10 years, the state of the city has significantly improved. We have made a positive impact on the health of our city. Economic indicators continue to be encouraging, but the short-term outlook depends on what transpires with COVID-19. I am greatly concerned about the financial impact this outbreak will have on our economy. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and I ask for your continued commitment to not only Lebanon City, but to our local businesses as well. Because Lebanon is a great place to grow your business, grow your education, grow your family, and grow your community. Lebanon, the place to grow. Thank you for listening, and God bless Lebanon City.